Welcome to Effective Email Communication, Concise, Scannable, and Read. This is part of our eBit series. Our eBit series are tidbits of e-learning information that allows you to briefly review information and help make decisions before moving forward. You're certainly welcome to look at our e-webinars, which are 60 to 90-minute longs, or our e-workshops, which are 1 day or multiple days of learning. Let's move forward. Email communication. Well, the situation is that only 15 to 20% of emails get read. And part of that reason is the subject line's not clear. The message must be scannable, and it's not. And when we talk scannable, is people just briefly look and scan through the message to pick out the important contents. And they decide usually out of all their emails which ones they're going to read and which ones that they don't have time for. To make your scannable is important. We'll speak about that in a minute. The writing's not concise. It's not key. Concise means it's to the point. It doesn't have a lot of fluff. If it looks like a novel and they just don't have time to read it. They have points that are readily available or they don't. When you don't have points readily available, and a lot of times it's because you think you have too much to communicate. And that's actually part of the problem, is that you're trying to communicate too much. And there's nothing there that grabs the reader's interest. You want something that grabs that reader's interest. Else it just doesn't get read. So when we talk about gaining response, this is really the ultimate objective on any email that you send. How you write emails are very important because there are steps to increasing responses to your email, and especially who you're emailing as well. One, you need to have a reason for your email to be read. What impacts that person when they receive it, scan it, review it, or they see it? It needs to be quick and compelling. When we say quick, we talked about that it must be concise, must be compelling, subject line should grab attention, they could see points readily available, they can scan it when they're just reviewing it because they don't have time to read emails now, but it's this one that I need to make sure I come back to. And it needs to have a call to action. What is it that you want from me? If I can't tell, I'm just probably not going to read it. We talk about emails need to be professionally executed. So let's talk about that for a second or a minute. It must have a clear subject line. So let's talk about a policy for the subject line. It must also have time management efficiency and be effective. And if you're considering the time management aspect for the person you're emailing, they'll appreciate it. 3 subject lines plus clear subject. So this is our policy for subject lines to help grab someone's attention. When I worked for a CEO of an international organization and when I traveled with them, I definitely wanted his attention. I didn't want to be part of that 15 to 20% of emails that were only read and that they weren't mine. I wanted my emails to be part of that 15 to 20% that were read. So I took some things into account. One, I created 3 subject lines. Subject line number 1 was action required, and then the clear subject on what I was speaking about. This allowed that CEO to know that I needed an action from him. Now remember, I had to be very precise. If it was something that I didn't need action or was unimportant, then I lost value. So I made sure that if it was something I needed action from him, it was very clear, and I earned his respect from that. The next email subject line was FYI and then the subject. So many times you have to send an email that it's someone, for their information. This is why I put the FYI. It told them for your information. In other words, I think it's still important enough to send to you, but I don't need an action. And if there's a time that you're able to review it, please do. The third one was only in emergencies, and I probably only did it once, if I could even think of that. But it said action required 911 and then the subject line. Once again, if everything's action required 911, then nothing is 911. In other words, you take out the importance. If you think that, well, that's just going to receive his attention, so I'll use it more often, you will actually lose credibility if you use it incorrectly. However, when I would send the CEO emails in this manner, he appreciated it. He replied back, but there's other things that I did as well. But in fact, he made this a moving policy with our organization that we trained everyone else to be respectful. One of the things that we train trainers, we train writers especially, but we train in email, and especially business email, to give the 3 T's. We say utilize the 3 T's. The 3 T's are, first, tell them what you're going to tell them. So if they're scanning it, they're able to see, oh, here's what he's going to tell me. Then if they read the email, that's where you tell them. You give them the points, the meat and the potatoes of what you want to talk about. And then you summarize it briefly at the end. You tell them what you told them. So remember, the structure is tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them what you told them. And that's where it's very key and important. We'll give you a quick example as we move forward. The big solution for your email, 6 tips in writing business emails. 1, keep it concise, include a subject line. I showed you how to, I utilize the 3 subject lines. Make it scannable, maintain a professional tone, proofread, and remember to use bullet points. So where I say make it scannable, the scannable is, here's the 3 T's. Jim, I'm going to speak to you about this. If you read below, there are 1 to 3 bullet points, or there's 3 bullet points on what we spoke about that I think are most important. And then at the end, okay, so remember, here's what I told you, and here's what I need from you. So I summarized it with the 3 T's. If I need to write a novel that there's a lot of information, I do not leave any more than 3 bullet points. So I have to think of what are the most important 3, and then I will tell them, if you continue to read, here's what the rest of the information is. So I tell them what I'm going to tell them. Hey, this is about our meeting. Here are the 3 key points that came out of the meeting. If you continued reading after that, I left some additional topics that I think are important to you. Then I tell them what I need to tell them, and then at the very end I summarize. So I tell them what I'm going to tell them, and then what's after the 3 bullet points. Then I tell them with the 3 bullet points, and then I tell them what I told them. So it reminds them and what the follow-up action is. That's part of the tell them what I told them. So the key factors, you just heard it. Tips for effective email communication. 1, focus on one idea when possible. You can't cram it all in. Bullet point if more than one idea, but no more than 3. Resist writing a novel, but if you do, still no more than 3 bullet points, and then let them know what comes after the bullet points. If a long email is necessary, define to reader the key contents using the 3 T's, and continue the additional information after the bullet points. Let's get back to the story. 5 steps to improving communication with a superior. Well, I gave you many other points when I spoke about that CEO. But one of the things that I realized when speaking to him, was the little nuances or habits that he had. We were an international company. I realized that when we traveled in the daytime, he wasn't checking emails. However, I did come to know that he was always up at 5 a.m. on email, many times making international calls as well. Here's where we speak about the find the best timing. So if I wasn't with him, I knew he was still doing the same activities that he did when I was with him. If I needed to send him an email at 3 a.m. in the daytime, or 3 p.m. in the daytime, middle of the day, I would set the timer on the email that you can do with any email to show what time you want it to be set, that it would arrive in his email at 5:15 a.m. This always, more than likely, popped up while he was sitting down looking at his fresh emails. It would pop up. My response from him increased drastically. So I would define the best timing. I would prepare and plan the emails I was going to send them. I would make sure I had alignment and understanding of to put it in his way of thinking. I would always include a call to action, so that would be the follow-up and the follow-through. In other words, here's what I need you to do, or here's what I'm going to do. And sometimes it's, if I don't hear from you by 3 p.m., I'm going to go ahead and move forward with this decision. That's a very key point to put in there. Own your results. Be respectful, own the results, but listen to the critique that you receive back. And then always be professional. That goes without saying. Here's an example email. Just read it briefly, but you have the name, subject line, action required. It talks about, hey, we had this meeting, and here's 2 key bullet points below, and below this, which you don't see, but below the email would be the additional information. But you can see that it's precise, how it's scannable, and I like leaving no more than 2 bullet points, but the rule of thumb is no more than 3. Hopefully that helps. We have obviously much longer classes on business writing, which includes the how to do the emails more effectively, and we include much more in depth. But here's a great quote for it. It says, we may encounter many defeats, but we must not be defeated. And that's by Walter Bagehot. So great quote for you. Thank you for attending, and we'll catch you on the other side. We want to thank you for attending. If you'd like to email, our email is mark@markvillarreal.com. If you have questions about additional courses, you can send that to contact@markvillarreal.com. My website is markvillarreal.com. My phone number is listed there. And please subscribe to our YouTube, which this will be posted. But as we create new tidbits or other e-learnings or educational videos, you will be notified as well. So please, thank you very much and have a good day.